Awesome. I get that. Hello, everyone. My name is William Brown, and I am the founder and CEO of Embedded, the future of patient monitoring. Allow me to tell you guys a story. One of my company advisors had her mother in a medical facility, a nursing home to be exact. The image you can see here on the screen shows her mother, the day she went to visit her. She is happy, healthy, and content. 3 things we'd wish for any of our loved ones, especially our elderly, the most vulnerable population. However, later that night, my advisor went home and received one of the worst phone calls she could have received. And that was that her mother had fallen down at the facility. She began to ask herself, how could something like this happen? I'm paying the top nursing home in my region to watch over my loved one, and they have suffered from a fall. The injuries that happened to her were too gruesome for me to put here on the slide, but her face was completely bruised, swollen, her eyes were swollen shut, and a laceration going from her forehead down to her cheek. It was horrendous. And unfortunately, that scenario right there happens far too often for us to let it go. The CDC reports that the number 1 cause of injuries and deaths in our elderly patients is falls, with over 14 million individuals suffering from falls every single year in our facilities, which results in over 38,000 deaths. 38,000 deaths that could have been prevented had there been more effective monitoring equipment in these facilities. Imagine the horror and the shock going through your mind if you were to pull up to one of these facilities to visit your mother or your grandmother, and their head was bruised because they fell trying to get out of bed, and no one was there to help them. It's horrific. I'd like to direct your attention to the $50 billion spent every single year by the government, by insurance companies, and the patients on treating the injuries for these falls. These patients, like I mentioned, are the most vulnerable, and any kind of accident is life-altering. And so it is very expensive for people to treat these injuries. And I have yet to even mention the 150,000 patients that suffer from bed sores every single year. Can you imagine the amount of agony and pain these patients are suffering in, laying in bed with open wounds on their lower body? It's horrific. And unfortunately, these numbers are only going to increase. The United States elderly population is currently at 55 million individuals and is expected to rise to 90 million by the year 2030. That's only 6 years away. 6 years. This problem is a national issue that needs to be addressed now because it's not only the nursing homes and elder care facilities suffering from this, it's our hospitals as well. However, that's why we here at Embedded are currently developing the solution to this issue. We're working with RFID technology embedded inside of a bed pad that will go onto the patient's bed. Our technology will then it will be able to detect, track, and monitor the patient on the bed, and the nurses will be able to get a live feed on their screen. They'll get alerts if the patient is on the bed, how long they've been in these certain positions to help prevent the bed sore formation. But most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, most importantly is that you get real-time alerts as the patient moves near the edge of the bed, so we can get caretakers in the room to prevent an accident before it even occurs. Looking at our competitive landscape, we could see some common products that we have either heard of, used, or have seen in action already. Bedside cameras are some of the most frequently used, but no one here would like to have a camera on them watching you 24/7. It's an invasion of our privacy, and at the end of the day, I think we can all agree that they're only effective if someone is watching that camera feed 24 hours a day, and that just doesn't happen. Yes, AI camera systems tackle that constant monitoring issue that cameras lack in, but it's still a big camera staring at you, and it can frighten our patients. And AI systems are known to mistake other objects for the patient or lose track of the patient because it's too dark in the room. And with the way the medical facilities are right now, we cannot afford to have accidents like this happening. Now let's look at bed alarms, these big clunky pads going onto the bed. No one here wants to be uncomfortable when you're trying to sleep, let alone our elderly. However, we here at Embedded have taken all of this into account and have made sure that our product, our solution, not only offers constant monitoring with real-time alerts, but ladies and gentlemen, it keeps your loved ones comfortable in their own bed. Like I mentioned before, the elderly population right now is at 55 million individuals here in the United States, and that number is projected to reach 90 million in just 6 years from now. 6 years. There's over 71,000 facilities here in the United States that will be affected by this issue. This is a fast-growing issue that needs to be addressed. And like I mentioned before, $50 billion spent every single year treating these injuries. However, with our product, not only do we decrease the number of falls, the number of accidents and injuries and deaths, but we offset that $50 billion and we lower that cost for government, insurance, and the actual patients themselves. Now, the funding from this competition will be crucial and allow us to accelerate our entry to market plan. The $40,000 will allow us to address several technology risks and allow us to perform the necessary research and development needed so we can move forward with our proof of concept testing, test out various features such as light systems that go off outside of the room in conjunction with the alerts on the bed. We'll also be able to move forward with our patent filing after we finish that proof of concept testing and secure our intellectual property. Additionally, we'll be able to hire additional personnel with this funding so we can address market risks and have a constant flow of feedback from us and the customers so when we go to market, we have a product that not only works, but is developed around the needs and the pain points of the customer. Additionally, this will allow us to begin our SBIR grant application in the first quarter of 2024 and allow us to have that submitted and completed by the second quarter of 2024. Now, I'd like to highlight our team here at Embedded for all of the work that we've been working on. We come from a variety of different backgrounds. I myself have a background in mechanical engineering. We have a software developer who is currently studying computer science and cybersecurity, and someone who's currently doing entrepreneurial market research for us, as well as a team of advisors who come from different medical backgrounds and commercialization pathways. Finally, I'd like to end and leave everyone here with my favorite quote I was told this year while performing customer discovery. It's quotes like this that I believe really show that there is a need for products like ours in the market right now, but it also helps reinforce what we're doing here at Embedded and show that, hey, we are moving forward with our good mission statement of ensuring we can watch over our loved ones comfortably and effectively. Thank you.
You mentioned that you would be pursuing patent filings for your product. What type of due diligence have you done or will you be doing to determine that you've looked at some products in the marketplace? Have you also looked at the patent landscape?
Yes, I have. So I was able to get into a pro bono patent lawyer session, and they provided a thorough patent search and looking into the different products that are out there. Fortunately, there is nothing out in the market or has been patented that is similar to our product. So essentially, we are the first of our kind to go into the market.
Great presentation. So I have a few questions. So at this point, is there a prototype in place?
Not yet.
Okay, so it's all conceptual at this point.
All conceptualized. We're still, the next plan is to move on to the proof of concept phase.
Okay, so you mentioned there's approximately 14 million falls. And I'm assuming various landscapes like hospitals, nursing homes, etc. And that less than 1% or 38,000 have passed away from that. Now, do you have metrics on the amount of falls of those 14 million that have occurred outside of the bed versus on the bed?
Yes, so those falls, those numbers that we got, that is a mixture of those, either getting out of the bed or once they have left the bed, let's say they're in the hallway. However, many of these falls occur when the patient has left the bed and they start wandering the nursing home. So this happens a lot at night, and we've learned this through talking to various customers, which were the nursing home staff. During the day, they'll let the patients out and stuff, they'll hang out with them, but there's always a nurse with them. However, at night, sometimes patients with Alzheimer's and dementia, those numbers are rapidly increasing every year. And so lots of those patients, just like my grandfather, would wake up and not know where they're at. And the first instinct is, I need to figure out where I'm going. So they would get up and leave, and they would fall. So
then based off what you're saying, this is more of a notification system that A, they either fell, or B, they've left the bed and they should have some guidance or support.
Exactly. As well as they're nearing the edge, someone should be in there to see what's going to happen.
Okay.
I guess I'll follow up on something similar. So you mentioned 38,000 deaths roughly a year due to falls. Looking at a holistic picture, what percentage is that of the total deaths?
Of the total deaths due to the falls? Or?
Correct. So how much does the deaths contribute to looking at the whole picture?
So unfortunately, I think we can all agree that one death itself is too many. We shouldn't have patients passing away due to falls. Now, lots of these patients, I'm hoping I'm tackling this correctly. But yes, the big issue here is, we have a lot of patients who are getting up from the bed. These injuries, maybe they don't fall and directly pass away from the fall itself, but the complications that arise from that fall lead to them passing away. The medical procedures that follow that are highly invasive to the patient. And like we said, they're very vulnerable where they're at in their lives right now. And so they may have been fine, but that fall could have put them in a worse state. My grandfather would have fallen. Every time he would fall at home, it would just get worse and worse, and it takes a toll on their body. And so it leads to the higher number of deaths because of the complications that follow.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, William, for your presentation. I guess my question goes back to, you want to come to the proof of concept. So before that, can you tell us what the solution is from a high level?
Yes. So what our solution is, think of this like a big mattress pad, right? A plastic sheet mattress pad that will go onto your bed, but beneath your fitted bed sheet. We're using RFID tags that are embedded inside of this pad. And so as the patient lays on it, as we know, radio frequency cannot travel through water, and there's water in the human body. So as the patient lays on top of these tags, we can see, like on the picture I showed before, we can see which tags have been blocked off, indicating, hey, we know they're on the bed, and that shape of the tags blocked off happens to be their body. Now this communicates via antenna, which goes out to the computer, and they can get the feed.
Okay. And you haven't hacked like a Savana with some tags or anything?
Sorry?
You haven't hacked a Savana with some tags and stuff?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Another question. Well, do we have time for more questions?
Last one.
Okay, so the question is, it's a multi-part. So outside of an elderly person, who's the ideal client? Would it be a corporation? Would it be a corporation?
So the ideal client for this would be the nursing homes. Lots of them are switching over to private, so they would be considered one of the corporations we would sell to. Hospitals as well. The most accessible target customer we have right now would be the nursing homes. And then from there, scaling that up to the hospital facilities. Generally, it's a lot harder to get the product into the hospitals, but the nursing homes right now suffer the most from this issue. But as the population increase and these numbers increase, the hospitals will see it'll be a lot easier to get into that market as well.
So the follow-up to that is, I would assume from a scalability standpoint, revenue generation standpoint, an HCA or a tenant would be your ideal client to put one in every bed, correct?
Yes.
Have you interviewed or had conversations with a floor nurse, an ICU nurse, or anyone in the hospital system that gave you a practical outlook on this, where they have 7 patients, 3 of these alarms go off, there's only 1 nurse? How's that nurse supposed to get to 3 people that the dialogue is telling them somebody got off their bed, they might have just gone to the restroom, they may have picked up a blanket. How are you going to overcome those types of situations where they have to pick between 3 alarms going off that there was bed movement?
Right. So and we've talked to various nursing homes and hospital employees as well while performing customer discovery. One of the things they do is they label each of the patients based on their fall risk as well as various other medical factors. So in this case with our product, there's 2 solutions. They could either use our product only initially on the patients who are at a higher fall risk than the others, and then you can kind of combat the issue, or if all the patients have them, then either, hey, which nurses are closer, or if they say, well, this person doesn't have a higher risk of falls, that person might have just gotten up to the bed, but we know patient in this room is at a higher fall risk, we need to address them first. So that procedure is really up to the facility themselves, but yeah, there's those different avenues it can go.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, William.
Thank you.